What's up, Bobby?
What's happening, man?
Man, first of all, how about Cabo?
Incredible.
It's your first time?
First time, now of many times.
Oh, you gonna come back?
Yeah, dude.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like
and more so the crowd that we're around. Great people.
Yeah, so we're recording this, we're not live, but we're recording this in Cabo San Lucas. This is Bobby's first time here. I invited him and my pastor and their wives out to a couples retreat. I brought them here for, this is not a couples episode, but I brought them here because I wanted them to really pour into some of the people that we work with and some of our clients and teach them how they do life, marriage, raising kids, and all that other stuff. So I didn't realize when I invited you here that you'd never been here before, though.
Never. One of a place I always wanted to come. A lot of people come.
Yep.
Now I know why they come. I mean, look at this, dude. This is just
hard
amazing.
to beat this view on the mountain here.
No,
it really is.
It's unbelievable.
And when you go down, like we went down to the beach this morning, man, like looking back up on those cliffs, man, it's
And what about the breaches of Wales?
Yep, yeah, whales.
Actually, there's
everywhere.
another one right there just breaching.
You gotta love it, man. Yep. So, well, Bobby, you have been in the real estate game for how long?
Oh, man, dude. Give or take 25 years.
You ever have a real estate license?
Never.
Never. Does Sophia have one?
Yes,
She
Sophie
does.
has one, and it's inactive for many years.
Okay, I started saying that's not, if
No.
anything, it's recent.
Yeah,
Okay, it's been inactive.
you know, a real estate license, Ryan, it's a great way if you really want to know about the basic real estate, but I can be honest with you, at least for me, you can get that on Google. You know, Sophie and I became financially free without that license. You know, we heavily believe in real estate in all cycles.
I think licenses are agreements to be regulated by the government. Anyway, if you have a license, you probably couldn't do a lot of the stuff that you do. It's
1,000%.
It's not unethical. It's just you have all of a sudden a fiduciary duty.
Well, they
to
put you in a
somebody.
box.
Yep,
They put you in a
exactly.
box, and you know, this great country we live in, dude, it's about not being in a box.
Yeah.
It's about having the freedom to create so many things in your life, and I think real estate is definitely one of many.
So you said 25 years? Is it
25 years active. Yeah, solid 25 years, and primarily in multifamily. So we have about 2,500 units today.
Was there 2,500 units? Fucking A. Was there a time that you started in single family and
Yeah.
transitioned to bigger things?
Yeah.
Because that's probably where myself and a lot of other
Yep.
people start. You know, I'm on my very first commercial thing ever, and the multifamily stuff I've done is syndication, so they're not mine, obviously. But you obviously went through the whole gauntlet of that stuff. But you started with single family.
I started with single family, and what happened was I made a big mistake, man. I started single family thinking I had my mojo, buying one or two, and then immediately skipping right over to multifamily. Not only skipping in multifamily, going really big in multifamily, crushed.
Apartments or duplexes? Okay,
Apartments. So I was doing single families.
Okay.
Maybe I got up to maybe 5. And
Really?
then
You
I
went
thought I was
quick.
ready for the big league, but it was a disaster.
Oh.
I had no clue what I was doing. I bought a few homes thinking I did, and now realizing the fundamentals of actually how the game is worked. So we pivoted, we went really big, almost filed bankruptcy because of it, interviewing with bankruptcy attorneys. Then during that course of visiting bankruptcy attorneys, went back to basic and said, I'll never skip a process in my life. Every time I skip stages, Ryan, it's just been devastation for me.
That right there, by the way, that right there, that's like, if you got nothing else from any show that I've ever, that is so, like, you learn the worst lessons the worst way when you skip the process, man.
Dude, the invoice is horrible.
The foundation was not built. You cannot live there for long.
Nope. Went back into single family homes, bought 1, 2, all the way to 17, understood it, package of 17, I sold it, Sophie and I sold it. Then we said, you know, we're gonna go to multifamily. In multifamily apartments, it's 5 units or more. Anything below 5 is considered residential.
Okay.
So what I did was, okay, I'm gonna go to a duplex. In my mind, I said a duplex is a multifamily. So we bought 2, 3. I was so obsessed. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Didn't get to 13, got to 14. My point being is that I wanted to go door by door and learn this process. I took it to about maybe 28 garden apartments. These garden apartments are just, 12 units, 6 units, 8 units, 5 units. and I packaged it, did the same thing on 17 homes I had, sold it. We made about $17 million, Sophie and I. We took the $17 million, simply now went to the next stage because we maximized the stage we're at. We did learn everything. Right. Then that 17 took us to the bigger assets, and it became a lot more easy and efficient only because we knew what we were doing. Today, that real estate portfolio of only apartments is about $750 million. Low leverage. These are long-term assets.
And that's just you and Sophie. No
that's
partners,
just no
like
investors,
crap,
no investors, no nothing. It gives us conservatively about $500,000 a month, whether we like it or not. No tax implications. In addition, dude, it gives my wife, my kids, their partners, my grandchildren a whole bunch of money every month. And we're very bullish in no matter cycles. We're now developing 3 multifamily apartments, brand new. One in South Florida building. One will have a grand open in February 2024.
How many units is that?
170.
Okay.
The other one is in Orlando, 198. The other one is in Nashville. We'll break ground. That's 300 units. And this is during a time when everyone's saying, oh, real estate, real estate. No one realizes, dude, that real estate is a play and an investment, regardless, it's in demand.
Yep.
It's in constant demand. Good times in the market, low times in the market. And I always ask people, I say, man, do you think if you buy this today, do you think it's gonna be worth more in 5 years? If the answer is yes, which I know it's a yes,
right.
So we're constantly bullish, but in real estate, I found out, dude, it's not on the sale. Right now, Sophie and I will make $13 million on a deal we're selling. We're closing it this year, right before the end of this year, 2022. Closing on another one in January. We'll make about $15 million on it. These are not legacy assets. These were assets to bridge us to legacy assets. So the one we're going to sell now, we make about, give or take, 12 million bucks on. We'll take that 12 million. The other one, we'll take the 15. We'll consolidate that, come out with about 27 million bucks or whatever. Roll that into another asset. Constantly rolling. And Bobby, what are you rolling to? I'm rolling
skyscrapers.
Dude, I'm rolling to legacy assets that I will never sell. These are for my grandchildren. The only stuff I sell are things that I don't consider legacy, meaning that chances are by the time my grandbabies are old enough, it's probably all broken and junk. Right. I'm looking for the location jobs.
Hence why you're building stuff now, right? Because that gives you longevity because it's from the beginning.
1,000% of following incomes. And of course, that didn't happen overnight. I transitioned there. I had Section 8. I had low housing income voucher properties. We did it all stage by stage, man. I know every asset class, and I didn't skip it because I know, man, every time I skipped in my life, it was horrible. It was a homicide scene. So I'm pretty good on not skipping it. Well, I don't want to take forever to get there, Bobby, so what do? I'm urgent about it, not desperate.
Right.
Desperate and urgency, cousins, but they behave differently and they have different outcomes. I used to be desperate, terrible. Now I'm urgent. How am I urgent? Buy the property, learn from it, maximize it, add value to it, exit from it, figure out what your ROI is. Like, wow, man, that was pretty cool. And the only way that happened was during these steps. It delivers you that outcome, and then in spending the money, instead of going out and spending the 12 million bucks, buying a piece of property or maybe buying something emotionally that I'm attached to, no. It's constantly being invested in multifamily.
I dig it. You know, I like I said, I don't personally have any multifamily, but really what interests me, and I bet a lot of people that are watching this are like, hey, wait, rewind it back. I got you guys, don't worry. But you said you packaged up a certain number of homes and sold them to an investor, like one person. So talk to us about how that happened. You know, that's something I've never done.
So you have another Bobby out there, another Ryan, and they're looking. Some of them are impatient. They're desperate. So some of them will come in, and I know I have a buyer. There's always a buyer in real estate, no matter what cycle you're in.
And you've done the work of finding all the properties. You got the P&Ls, all that shit. So it's just one.
And what I learned, man, when you buy a property, the property was manipulated to shine, to tempt you and entice you to overpay for it.
Yep, just like cars or anything else, right?
It's such an enticement, man. And I packaged it, sold it to somebody that was desperate to get there and skip the process.
Young Bobby.
A younger Bobby, maybe it wasn't a great deal as it should have been, or he thought, but my job was to sell it for maximum dollars,
Right.
to entice it, put lipstick on it, show value add, show a runway, and then that is the game. So there is a downside when you buy property. Every property you're buying, think, man, are they enticing me? Is this thing so sexy for a reason? And then if you know what you're doing, you'll find out how unsexy it is. And
Right.
that's why real estate's always on the buy. It's never on the sale. People fail in real estate because they don't understand how to buy.
I agree, and a lot of people buy on emotion. You know, they think, oh, great. They think location, location, location. Great house, great location. Sure. You
FOMO,
know,
man. They think like they're missing out, and
we just saw that this whole last 18 months. The only reason people were buying houses so fucking over the price marks because they were desperate, but they got that FOMO. They thought, oh, I may never get a house again. Like, you're never gonna run out of houses.
1,000%.
So you package these up, you sell them, and you use that. I like the word. They were bridge
Bridge me
assets
to better opportunities.
To better opportunities. So now you've got a couple 150 plus units and a 300 unit that you're starting. What does a legacy asset look like?
So legacy asset, when you get to that phase, and maybe it's a bigger number for most, but we bought a deal about, I don't know, mid of last year. We paid 123.5 million, 124 million. Incredible. That's a legacy asset. It's called a Westerly. It's in Winter Garden in Florida. It's called Winter Garden, Florida. Legacy asset, meaning that the location's irreplaceable. The incomes are staggering high. Jobs are being in flux. You do your data points, you'll find out for the next 20 years, jobs are just going to continue coming to this market. Inventory is not going to be built in the area, so the supply and demand will be there. That's a legacy asset that's for my grandbabies that I know, and it's a 2021 vintage, so I know the longevity, it's going to be there without the wear and tear. So if you buy a 1967 apartment, 1970, it's cool. It's great to get in the game and all that, but the sustainability.
Right.
If you're buying it saying, man, that's never going to be sold, I get it. But I challenge people not to do that. Bridge yourself
To the vintages.
Vintages means the year the property is. What you want to do is work your way down, and I'm a big believer, man, starting from the bottom. I am. I
go
try
through
to
the
do that,
process,
and
yep.
I failed. And let me tell you, not only real estate, dude, me and my wife was able to sell a company for $1 billion with the same formula, not skipping the process.
Yep.
And of course, doing it urgently. So that's a legacy asset. So a legacy asset to me is not 1985, 1980. Some investors will justify, oh, it's a great location. We justify because we get excited when we buy a piece of property because it's a win. But try not to crush yourself on the loan, because if you set up the loan for only one purpose only, this is a 3-5 year hold because it's going to bridge me closer to legacy assets. Legacy assets cost a lot of money.
Right.
So that's why you want to buy a lot of the small ones. Compound, the power of compounding leads you to then roll that 1031 to buy these. How do you buy a $124 million property, Bobby, with no investors, you and your wife? How do you do that?
A lot of bridge
And
assets.
check this out, man. We got a loan of $71 million, meaning that you take
124 million, subtract 71 million, that was our down payment. Man, Bobby, where'd you get all that money? You
hit a lotto? No. We kept, remember that bridge? Kept bridging, compounding the money.
And I want to point something out real quick.
Hold on, Ryan. I'm so sorry, Bobby. Your microphone is falling against your skin, so I didn't notice at first because I did a microphone check.
Cool.
Yeah, it
Awesome.
was good right there. It was just falling.
Perfect. Thank you, dude.
Sorry, Ryan.
No worries. And so I just want to catch you right there for a second because I know Bobby well. We spend 3 hours a month together for 12 months now straight. So we communicate a lot. But I want you to think about that. Like, he's not a real estate agent. He's not a real estate professional, meaning like he's in the industry and works for somebody, has a brokerage or That's not at all. He has a main job. We'll call it a 9 to 5. Entrepreneurs don't have 9 to 5, but until recently, he has a main job just like everybody else here. And real estate was a side hustle for him. So he's building legacy assets, 70, 100 million assets from a side hustle. And I'll let him talk about his flash dancer and everything here in a minute. But I want to point out one other thing along that. Now he's talking $120-something million apartment complex, the bank backing him up, 71 million of that, all because he used these bridge assets. But the biggest takeaway from all that is he did this shit in 25 years. What's so funny is human beings think they can do some shit in a year, and they think 25 years is forever. But then when you get to a certain age, you're like, shit, 25 years isn't that long. You know what I mean? Like from my point, let's say I'm 40 years old. By the time I'm retiring, you're telling me if I go in and I hammer down, I'm 43. So about the time that I would be Social Security ready, I could have hundreds. At that time, if I'm on the same even remote track, I could have $50 million in assets, $100 million in assets without having to deviate from my main job or whatever.
And
like
that 25 years,
that.
Ryan, that 25 years, and you guys don't have to make that same mistake. It was 25 years, but we did it under 15 years when we learned it.
Right? Yeah, because you said you had a little period
You got
where you
it.
fucked
We
it up,
burned
you know?
and wasted 10 friggin' years trying to skip this process constantly. Now, I didn't have this ecosystem to be around some good integrity with the information, to be able to help me digest it and help me scale and pivot to these investments. And I'm glad I didn't, dude. I'm glad I didn't, because back then I was a hardhead. I couldn't have been taught or coached. I knew it all. I was the smartest person. I had the biggest ego, and I say, as you know, it's not your amigo. And so yes, that is a part-time gig, this real estate, this 2,500 units. It does not have a personality. It's very consistent. I get millions of dollars in tax depreciations constantly, which is the biggest win in the stage that Sophie and I are in. Today, we sit on a $500 million personal net worth. Real estate does its job for us. We do not give it energy. All it is again, on the buy. Real estate's only on the buy. If you buy it right, you put the correct debt on it for the purpose of that bridge, it'll do its job. It'll do its job. Now, knowing what I know today, and because I didn't get any investors, I had nobody that had any money. I didn't have any money. Know anybody who had good credit. We lived on Rent-A-Center. There was not that there for me. And a lot of people ask me, Bobby, man, would you go out and get investors? Absolutely, yes. Because I know what the heck I'm doing. That means another younger Bobby, another younger Sophie, or whatever. If you're 55 like me, you can do it. This doesn't take a long time. This takes, I would say honestly, a year to learn. And a lot of people think investing, you have to invest your money, your time. When you invest your time, there's no better reward on that time if you really invest it correctly. So imagine investing in a year of knowing this game. A lot of people, don't want to spend time there and they want to just skip that. This can change your life forever. And you can start with a Section 8, you can start with a townhome, you can start with a duplex. And
right now the government will give you 100% financing to buy. Like if you're a young man, you can go buy a place in the hood, in a place that's being regentrified in one of these opportunity zones. They will give you 100% financing at a ridiculously low interest rate, no matter your credit score. All you've got to do is meet these minimum FHAs. They're similar to FHA guidelines, and you can literally get a duplex in the hood, rent the other half of it out, live in it.
Unbelievable.
I mean, it's opportunities you and I would never have.
Unbelievable, man. Wow, you're kidding me.
Yep. So when you say go get something and start with Section 8, like FYE, motherfuckers, like there is no excuses,
Incredible.
Yep.
Yeah, dude, real estate has been very good to us. We know it well. We believe in it heavily. We will be, give or take, about $1 billion in assets within 60 months. We are buying now, even in this changing environment. We are very bullish. We're bullish on every cycle because we know how to buy.
And multifamily rent doesn't go down. When in your life has anybody said, you know what, we're gonna lower your rent this month? It's never happened to me. You know what I mean? It's never happened to any tenant that I've ever rented, and everybody in the room here shaking their head like rent's always gonna be the same or up.
And financing is even actually hassle-free, easier. When you get over 5 units, 6 units, and you start scaling there, financing is really readily available.
A lot of people don't know, but like the Fannie Mae, the Freddie Mac,
Freddie.
those are the hardest guidelines to meet. It was easier for me to take a $7 million loan out on a $5 million, $7 million project on that commercial
Yeah.
building than it was for me to refinance
Incredible.
my fucking primary
Incredible.
residence.
Prime example.
And my primary residence isn't that much money, you know?
Incredible.
It absolutely
And
incredible.
anybody can do this, dude. I failed at the 3rd grade. I mean, who fails at the 3rd grade? You got to be really, you know, I mean, 3rd grade failing. And then I only got to the 9th grade. This is available to anybody, man. Anybody.
I just want to say we're the 9th grade dropout club here. Just want to point that out. I didn't make it past the 9th grade either.
We love
We both
real
turned
estate,
out
man.
all right, man.
Yeah, dude. I mean, you know, a lot of lessons. I mean, we
Yeah.
teach ourselves lessons. There's
Hard
always
head
invoices
lessons.
for those actions we take and those decisions.
Yep, hard head lessons. So one thing you mentioned that I'm sure a lot of people are going to hit me up or leave comments about is you said you've got this cash flow coming in without any tax implications, right? So how does something like that work? I mean, you don't have to go into the intricacies of it, but how would a person start planning for that in the future? Because obviously that didn't happen on your first deal. You
Yeah.
set up a system.
Yep. So in the beginning, I had no idea how it all rolled, and I gave so much money up to not taking advantage of the tax benefits. So remember that
price of
company?
education, right?
That company, my wife and I sold for $1 billion, and we started that company with only $1,700, as you know. When we took the final slice, because of this real estate, forget about the cash flow it provides, forget about how much it's going to be worth in 10 years, forget about that. We saved a significant amount of money, let's just call it 8 figures, on taxes. When we exited that business, you got a tax event.
Right.
Because of our real estate holdings, it enabled us not to pay millions upon millions of dollars in taxes. We did pay heavily.
But because you have depreciation.
Because of
against capital
depreciation,
gains.
when you buy a piece of property, it's very lucrative. If you look up something September 2019, there was a law, 100% bonus depreciation. When you buy a piece of property, excluding the land, you can depreciate a whole bunch of that on the spot. And I'm just rounding these numbers off, so don't quote me, and you can look it up yourself. You buy a property for $1 million. Say the land value is $300,000. The analysis show it's $700,000 now. You can actually get conservatively $350,000. So if you're in a tax bracket of the 40% or whatever, you can literally save 6 figures.
Yeah, save
on your
being
taxes.
taxed on $340,000.
On your taxes.
Right?
And on top of it, now you get your positive cash flow if you bought right, you leveraged right. Then you add value, increase the rents. Don't go in, put the kitchen in. Don't go in, do all this crazy stuff. Go in and start raising the rents, because that's why you bought it. You've seen value. Keep raising before you even put any capital improvements in there. The market, the tenants tell you, okay, no more, Bobby.
Too high.
Now I want a kitchen. Give me something if you want more. That's when you do the CapEx. All that CapEx, all those appliances and all that stuff in there is all a lot of money in there that relates to your taxes. So Donald Trump, President Trump, put that 100% bonus depreciation in place September 2019. Before that, you had to go 27 and a half years. If you do a cost seg, you could speed it up like 13 years. But he passed something, boom. This year is the last year to get 100%. I believe it bleeds out. So next year in 23, it goes to 80, and then so on. It's still a home run.
Right.
So a lot of people in real estate right now, if you have a tax event coming up year end, look at a play. I don't even care if it's a triple net lease. Any real estate is good real estate, believe it or not, if you're doing it for the tax event. So you're coming up year end, buy something. It's better than paying tax on it, on whatever your gain is, and it's just a bridge. So you're going to do that 1031.
Yeah.
You're not going to keep that property. You're only doing it for the purpose of a tax benefit. And then when you find something you want, then you do a 1031 out of the one you just bought for the purpose of the taxes. So there's a lot of, this thing is easy, dude. This is remedial stuff. If a guy like me understood it and understands it, anybody can. But you gotta be passionate about it, man. You gotta be obsessed. You can't be distracted.
Right. You know, I think that's a beautiful thing too. You've established a portfolio that has a set cash flow for you. It has a set cash flow for, so no matter what happens, is like you've got this legacy portfolio that's like got set up for you, your children, your grandchildren, like you said, right? You've got a 100-year plan. I just think that's amazing. So as you ramp up, here's the final question for me is like, as you ramp up and this $100 million project that you just took, and then Nashville and the other two that you just mentioned, do you increase your monthly cash flow to yourself or to your descendants, or where does that just go back into building the whole
question.
thing?
So how we do it is we're a family office. So check this out. We outsource our property management to another company, and we oversee and we manage them. So in the financials on the gross revenue, we automatically put 4% for our family office for asset, ASSET management. So we collect 4%. We pay a lot of employees internally for that. Then our kids, I have it all lined up. Sophie and I get about $500,000 a month. Our kids get X amount of dollars. They do extremely well. This thing feeds us without Sophie and I going back to the piggy bank.
Right.
Because we rather invest that stuff. So what happened in the Vanderbilts, man, sooner or later that bleeds out if you don't continue to invest your money and you just want to preserve it, hold it, and tap into it when you need it. It just bleeds out. Right. So we just
Money
line up.
depreciates.
Real estate feeds us, our lifestyle. We don't need any more than that. Our other investments, our private equity, our VC, some stuff in equities, some bonds, that all just continues to compound. And on Google, if you Google the power of a penny compound, you just can go ahead and Google, put the power of a penny compound, a penny a day. You guys will see how much that is worth. In about 7 years, it's gonna blow your friggin' mind.
Shit,
what
a penny a day
does.
doubled every day for 30 days.
Millions of
Crazy
dollars.
dollar. Yeah.
Millions. So can you imagine how we take a penny for granted?
Yeah.
So how dare you not to continue to invest your money? How do you let it sit?
Yeah. And money depreciates, you know?
Big time.
And so that makes sense. And to some people, you know, the internet flexing fucking people, they're like, you know, $500,000 may or may not sound like a lot to some people, but man, you know, and he's talking 500 grand a month, not 500 a year, but it's almost impossible when that's your personal income, right? And you like, it's almost impossible. Like year 1 or 2, like you say, you could be a flash dancer and wear all Versace and the Rolexes and all that shit. But after a couple of years, you pretty much fucking bought everything.
Dude, I don't
like,
need
life is not as
more.
expensive as Hollywood makes it seem.
I mean,
you know?
I've been married 32 years, together 33. We have a plane with a boat. We have a couple
nice
houses. Our kids have houses. There's nothing else that matters. And for $6 million a year, I don't need more than that. I don't need, it's wasted. I want to rack that into investments.
Yep. Well, I've been saying this for years. Like, after $2 million a year is a lot of income. And you know, people say, oh, $1 million's the new 100,000. No, it isn't. A million in sales might be 100,000, but $2 million a year after you've done that 2-3 years in a row. Year 1, maybe you go buy a house and a car, so yeah, it can go quick. But man, 2-3 years into just making $2 million or more a year, you run out of shit. You can have every watch, every fucking thing. It's hard to spend that much money.
Absolutely.
You know, people don't realize. So here's something I want you to take away from the show. You get focused. Only 25 years. Some of y'all may sound like a long time. It is not. Only 25 years. For those of you that are in your 20s, that means by the time you're my age, you could be sitting here, you could beat Bobby at this game. But here's the thing, don't be above going and getting those houses in the hood, because here's what's going to happen, the house in the hood. You're going to learn how to hire people to come fix your AC. You're going to learn how to get general contractors to give you quotes on shit that your tenants tear up. You're going to learn, you know, price per square foot for the tile and all the things that you're going to have to replace. And you don't want to skip that, because one thing that we forgot to go back to is what happened when you skip that. So what was the big blow up thing? You bit off more than you can chew and just couldn't keep up?
So check this out, especially young people, man. You got a hamster and there's a wheel. You know how you get a little hamster in a cage and the wheel? That was me, and that's many. I'm just on this wheel, thinking I am rocking and rolling, burning a lot of energy to get that symbol, the watch, so everyone knows I'm doing good, have that car, just burning. And the reason I'm back on the wheel is because if I get off the wheel, I lose the watch, I lose all this flash dance that I'm acquiring, just so everyone can see it. It's so freaking sick. Talk about a terrible investment. You're on that hamster of the wheel. I decided, I said, man, my non-refundable minutes. The same energy, the same passion, if I adjust to just focus on getting wealthy, not rich, that's it. I can get off the hamster wheel, and it's like a Hawaiian wave, and there's so many people out there, they're so young. If they understand how to truly understand how a dollar can impact your life, if you look at Warren Buffett, you look at all these boring personalities, it's not hard to get financially free. What you need to do, man, is get free from all the crap that you want. I want a Lambo, Bobby. I just, man, I talk to young kids. No, but I just want to see how it feels like. They're justifying, and they can't get off the crack of being a flash dancer. And I've met some kids, man, since I got into social media. I'm blown away the money they make. I am blown away. I mean, bona fide income. I mean, like, wow. And I'm seeing them in front of me, what they're acquiring, and I know the maintenance, meaning the money that's needed constantly, and I'm saying they have no idea they can actually be a billionaire in 10 years. Oh my God, they don't see it. They don't freaking see it. And then they take it all for granted, and if they're so distracted, you think their business is growing, they're gonna lose their business, almost like I lost my business, man.
Yeah, I bet that's stressful for you too, because you can see that it's like, man, you're making $5 million a year and you don't even own a fucking house. You rent a penthouse for 25 grand a month in Miami and drive a Lamborghini. You don't even have kids. What the hell are you doing? Like you could be like literally a billionaire in 10 years. That penny could be compounding, right?
Just incredible, man. If they just take a moment in time, get some time out from some of these friends that are just not bringing you value, man. And just focusing on your talent. You're obviously doing something right if you're making a few dollars. Try to really maximize more of that. And man, I used to be addicted to distractions. I was a flash dancer. Flash dancer is loud. I gotta show people. I need it. I need to show people that I'm doing well. It came crashing. It's not sustainable.
Yeah. Well, man, it's inspiring to me thinking that I can focus on my main job and invest. I've trusted your process. I bought more real estate this year than I've ever bought, and I didn't buy it during the height. I've never paid over listing.
Right.
I've paid below listing. So even during the height of all of this shit, even last year when people were paying, $10, $20, $100,000 over listing, I was getting shit off that was cheaper than it was actually listed for. I was getting deals from builders last year that I signed up for in 2020. They tried
those
to
two
cancel.
deals. I mean,
same thing. Recently, I got a couple $100,000 off. So if you don't take anything away from this, like never give up on real estate, right? And here's what I can say. Get yourself to a financial position to where you can buy a rental home, whether it's Section 8 or whatever the case may be. But buy it as if it's a car payment, like meaning if for something happened and you couldn't rent it out, you can at least afford that payment. That's how you keep from real estate being the death of you, right? Like every house, every building, everything that I own, my monthly income, my paycheck is enough to pay for that if it wasn't rented.
Yep.
When it's rented, that's the bonus, right? I look at it as, okay, so I get some rental income, I get some depreciation,
That's right.
It takes money off the capital gains and the W-2 income that I get on my job. Then I also am learning the lesson from this. So I really want you to understand that no matter what you're doing, whether you make 50 grand a year, 500 grand a year, or $500,000 a month like Bobby, you should be buying real estate. And if you're a person that makes $50,000 a year, and you think, how in the hell am I gonna buy real estate? I told you, they'll let you move into opportunity zones and you can get 100% financing. I think it's 103% actually, where they will give you some moving money and stuff like that. If you really want it, you can make it happen. That's the beautiful thing. I was listening to the guy the other day say the way that he became a millionaire is he dropped his ego, and him and 4 of his friends, instead of buying 4 houses or instead of renting 4 apartments, they all went in and bought 1 house. They all paid their quarter of the rent. They shared 2 very nice cars, so there wasn't no need to have 4 different nice cars because not everybody's always going to be in a car, and if most of the time they were together anyway. He said they made that sacrifice for 2 years and became millionaires because of the money that they were saving, and they weren't making any more than $15,000, $20,000 a month, but they lived in a regular house that was $1,500, put their fucking, and we see immigrants immigrants do that a lot. As
Absolutely.
an American, we see immigrants do, this guy was an immigrant.
Yeah.
We see immigrants do that a lot. And a lot of the natural born Americans, their ego's too big. They want to be a flash dancer or prove or whatever, where in 2 years, like you said, 10
Incredible.
years, you could be a fucking millionaire or a billionaire. That's huge.
And I want to say something. The best mentors. If you want to find the best mentors, look at an athlete. I'm picking on an athlete, but pick on a flash dancer. How do you get a $100 million contract? You've been playing a sport for 10 years. You got $100 million that was paid to you. Yeah, you can go ahead and subtract some tax, some sports agent. You've made a lot of money in 10 Christmases, 120 months. All of you see it. How do you go broke? How do they lose it all? They haven't been investing. They've been distracting, flash dancing, just totally distracted. That's a prime example.
Yep.
Someone makes $100 million in 10 years and without being on drugs. How do they lose it? And then you have these people out there making $200,000, $300,000, have a good business, and they feel I can never lose it. Well, I just gave you an example. You better be darn well how you invest your time. You want to know more about real estate? Fade for some distractions. Get on a free resource called google.com. Get passionate, get obsessed. You definitely have enough time. There's 24 hours in a day. You can literally get 2.5 days out of a day if you really look at how much time you really waste. Think about it, dude. How many awesome athletes lost it all?
It's a staggering like 90-something fucking % in the NFL, right? It's crazy.
Unbelievable.
And yeah, it is unbelievable, but that's why it matters to have the right people around you.
Yeah.
And so when you did that $17 million transfer years ago, 10 years or however long it was ago,
Yeah.
it was that first big 1031. What was your personal income per year from your real job? Like you weren't making billions of dollars back then.
No.
Just to be relatable.
Yeah,
to
yeah, dude, yeah. So we started that company for $1,700. We were just brokers, and then then I got to 100,000, 200,000, stayed at 250 for a while, 300, 500, and I'm backing out $1 million. I was making 750, maybe 750 a year, living very lean. Very lean. I was
Meaning
making
when you
about
bought that
$750,000 a year.
Meaning when you bought that thing, you were making, when you bought it, not when you sold it. When you sold it, you're almost to 7 figures, but when you bought that, you were probably low to mid.
When I sold it, no, dude, when I sold it, I was making about $750 to $1 million.
And so you probably bought it at what? You're making $250,000 a year when you bought the thing a few years
I'm
before?
sorry, yes. Oh, yeah. It's amazing, man.
That's what I'm saying. These guys making $250,000 to $750,000 a year, but did a $17 million
It just compounds,
non-taxable
man.
income event. That's
And everyone thinks, Ryan, 5 years, that's so long, Bobby. 5 Christmases, dude. I'm only talking about 5 Christmases, man.
That sounds like something they'd say.
You want a
in jail. Just
Ferrari?
5
What
Christmases.
about buying 20? Forget about one.
Yeah.
You want the Ferrari that friggin' much? Cool. What about getting 20?
Hey, we have another superstar randomly wandering up on the. Ladies and gentlemen, Pastor Keith Kraft.
How did he get up here?
He'll join us on the. Pull this one. Hey.
I go, where am I going? I start doing.
Oh, so we're just
We're
right
right in the middle. We were right in the middle of the
Perfect time,
podcast, so you get to be a special guest on the
Man,
podcast
so
for a
much.
minute too.
Good to see you, man.
Yes,
I've
man.
heard so much about you.
Thank you, dude.
So, am I really interrupting?
Yes,
Yeah,
we were in
man.
the podcast. It's
We're
all
talking
good.
about
We're
some
like,
awesome
wait,
people.
Pastor Keith just wandering over here in the backdrop.
You want me in the podcast?
You might as well. You stay here
Yeah.
now.
Here
So.
we go. Might as well. Here we go. All right.
Now we get an extra special episode here. I can dig
Good
it.
to be with you guys.
The extended
I'm looking
version.
forward to seeing you, hearing you speak and all that. I hear some awesome things about you, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You did great today.
Thank you, man. Thank you, dude.
Are we in the middle of it?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know, like I said, I'm here in Cabo, and I mentioned you earlier as obviously one of the people here, but this is, Bobby's been a mentor for a year, a mentor for me for a year. Keith has been my mentor, my spiritual father for 19 years. I've been rolling with this guy. I've been to one church in my lifetime that I have voluntarily gone to attend service at, and it is his church, and I have been on and off because I've had some rough times in my life, but I have been there for 19 years, and for about the last 6 years, Keith and I have been We've been very close, and it's the closest thing to a father I have, and we have a very interesting relationship because I'm not like, oh, Keith's here, let's all act different. I'm just Ryan, you know, and so I need Keith probably more than anybody else in all reality. But it's interesting, I think, when people see our dynamic, because a lot of people, I've hung out with you long enough to where when you come, it's like Santa Claus shows up, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, he's got a naughty list, we better be good for him, you know? And
The thing I appreciate about you, Ryan, is your authenticity. And I think that's what the world is looking for. That's what people, it doesn't matter what space you're in, what engine you're in, what you're creating. When you're an authentic person, and it gives you, you know, I teach in triads. So one of the things is you've got to be authentic, and then you can be transparent. And then you develop a type of intimacy or intimacy that people are attracted to. And I've always loved that about you, because you're the real deal. I mean, that's the thing. People say, hey, so, wow, you know, I mean, I'm in multiple spheres. I mean, I'm speaking in the world's largest business seminars and leadership seminars. And, well, like, this is like Ryan Stewman, he goes to your church. I said, he absolutely does. I said, because he's the kind of person that I want to be, the type of people that I want to be around, that are real. Not people that are perfect, not people that are plain, holy, not people that are, you know, feel like they've got all the answers, but just real. And I think that's what you bring. I so respect that about you. And I believe you win in life if you do two things. I believe you win in life if you give God something to work with, and if you give people something to respect. I really do believe that. If you do those two things, you'll be a great man, you'll be a great husband, you'll be a great father. And anyway, I love the realness of who you are. It's what I love. You know, I mean, you've got some pretty rough edges, and but guess what? In the pastor world, I've got rough edges. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't fit into a pastor box. And that's why I waited, Bobby, honestly, until I was 40 to even start pastoring, because I was already a millionaire, had been successful, you know, it's all relative, right? But been successful in business, owned multiple businesses, and just waited until I was 40 that I thought maybe in the church world, I could establish an incubator of greatness. That's what we call it, to where we could help people understand that we're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And until you tap into that spiritual dimension of your life, you'll always feel like, St. Augustine said, like there's a hole on the inside. It's like it'll make sense on some level, but one of my mentors, both from a distance when I was 15 until I did his last tour with him, which that was on the tail end of us doing 13 years of 30 events a year.
Wow.
Was with Zig Ziglar.
Really?
Yeah. And so Zig Ziglar, one of the things that Zig talked about is that there's so many people that do not understand that you were created by God, and because you're created by God, until you tap into that, there's just on the inside of you, like there's this, you know that there's more, but you can't figure out why there's more. So he said it this way, he said, some people climb the ladder of success and they get to the top and they realize that it's been leaning against the wrong wall.
Wow.
And so some people, because they never climb high enough, they never know there's more. They just think, if I could get it to the next rung of the ladder, if I could just make another million, or if I could just sell another company, or if I could just get another woman, or if I could just get another man, and they keep climbing the ladder until at some point, if you're successful enough, you go, wow, I've climbed that ladder, and there's just something deeper, and there's something more. So we've tried to build a church that will appeal to those types of people that understand that they're on a journey. And really all the Bible is, it's not a bunch of Bible stories. It's the journey of mankind with God and without God. That's what it is. And we're to learn those lessons, you know. But I'm probably the most unspiritual pastor that there is in the world. I mean, I don't know. That sounds egotistical when you say that. I don't mean that, because it's not like nobody wants to be called unspiritual, but I'm just saying unreligious would be the word. I'm very spiritual. But
And did God come in your life at what, age 40?
No, or very early in life.
Okay.
Yeah, so my father did not know the Lord, and but my mother did, and she made sure we were in church. And so very early I made a decision to follow Christ. And that's been the game changer for me all the way through. And the beautiful thing is I've been in, my whole life, I've been in both spaces. You know, I've been in the church and I've been in business and have had success in both, you know. But yet the biggest thing is to help people discover their own spiritual journey, you know. I think that's the biggest thing. But sometimes people don't, Ryan, you know, people don't, they don't know they need God because they've never either known somebody that truly had a relationship with God. And again, I think back to you being an authentic person. It's like God still has to do a work in all of us. He's never finished with that work. Mm-hmm. But the fact that you acknowledge God, that you honor God with your finances, that you honor God with the way you attempt to live your life, that you honor God by putting people first. I was talking to some of the guys today, and that's one of the things I love about you is that you've established an entity that puts people first, that really helps people reach their full God-given potential. Bobby, for me, what that means is, like my mission statement for my life is to be a loving leader, mentor, and I've kind of coined this word, coachivator of biblical excellence that helps people reach their full God-given potential. Because God's the one that gives us our potential. So anyway, it's a...
Wow, that's pretty cool. You know, I mentioned to you when I was speaking to the group today. You know, I was matter of fact, I was speaking at Ryan's huge event, which was awesome. A nice gentleman gave me a gift. So we're in the back room, a lot of things going on. This guy and his awesome wife running around, just an amazing show. I get a gift. And we're all moving so fast.
Yeah.
And I really didn't think about the gift until I was on the plane heading back to Florida. Looked at the gift, and Steve gave me the gift. I met Steve through mutual individuals. Gave me a gift, dude, and no one's ever given me a Bible. I've never even really picked up a Bible.
Yeah.
Gave me a Bible, and it had Bobby Castro in gold letters. He went out of his way to make that. I was so touched, but also backpedaling a little bit. You know, like saying, because like I mentioned, I don't know where am I. I know there's some, I call it energy and all that.
Yeah.
But then I was like backpedaling a little bit of getting close to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's why do people do that? I'm obviously doing it.
Yeah. Well, it's not your backpedaling. Here's even today. Here's what you said. What you said is, I'm about growth. So here's what I believe about growth. Growth and change are very similar, but they're different. But they're synonymous, because the law of change says things are going to change. All of us would agree with that. The law of change says things are going to change for better or for worse. The law of change says that things are going to change with or without you. But then there's a part of the law of the change that says things can change better because of you. So growth, and this is you. God made things to grow. It's like you said today, we're growing, we're right here and we're growing. But people don't, you don't consciously go, wow, I'm growing. No, you can't stop it. Like you're growing older, right? But so things are so it seems like it's the same thing as change, and it's synonymous, but it's different. So things are not just growing, but things were made to grow. God didn't make things to change, but for things to grow, things have to change. So part of what's in your spirit right now, the spirit of who Bobby is, the spirit of who Ryan is, the spirit of who I am, it's like there's this metamorphic type from a caterpillar to a butterfly. That's what transformation means, by the way. Which transformation and change are even different. But to go from a caterpillar that needs a lot of legs, this is a lot of people in business. I'll try this, to go through this metamorphosis, this process. Here's what the Bible says about that. Don't be conformed to the things of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you can prove what's the perfect will of God for your life. So what's so powerful about you, like when I was listening to you, I go, this guy, like we're going to be friends. This guy Now, I'm not going to be friends because I know anything about you, because I don't, except I know you're Ryan's friend. If you're Ryan's friend, I think, you know what? Like, I love Ryan so much. I mean, it makes me emotional talking about it. But I love Ryan so much because of the purity of his authenticity, who he is, and his search, right? So the fact that he sees me as a spiritual father in his life, the Bible talks about this. It says, you have 10,000 teachers, but you have few fathers. Some people never have a spiritual father voice that speaks into their life, that helps them see a part of their life that they've never seen before. And that's what's so powerful. So back to change and growth. So things are going to change, but things weren't made to change. Things were made to grow, so things have to change. Okay? So then, things are going to grow better for worse. That's where change is synonymous with growth. But then here's the powerful thing. God truly has given us a superpower because we're his sons, whether I acknowledge it or not, like I'm a son of God. If I acknowledge that, I get a superpower to make anything that I decide to change grow better. That's what's so powerful.
Wow.
So as I was watching you today, my heart was so moved, not only by your spirit and your heart and your own journey, that after making all the money, after fighting the fights that nobody even knows, to stay married, to be who you are, like you gotta, like once you know who you are, like when you went in on that lady, I was sitting way back so I couldn't say, but you went in on her, you went in on a few people. Here's my thought. Do they understand the gift they're getting right now? By you taking uniquely who you are, and you're like going in, and even knowing in your mind, I could offend this person by going here right now. I mean, you have to fight that. I have to fight that all the time, right? Like I could offend this person. But here's the great thing about truth. Jesus said, you'll know the truth, and the truth will set you free. But it's only the truth you know that can set you free. So here you are, like you're going in on those people, and I'm thinking in my mind, the truth hurts you before it helps you.
Yeah.
So it's not that you're back, like when you're saying, like, why is it that I seem like I'm back? You're not backpedaling. What you're doing is because of your openness, and that speaks of the greatness of you. Your openness, you're saying, well, maybe there is something to this God thing, you know? So God brings me into your life.
Yeah.
That's true. And he's brought a Steve into your life who I led to the Lord when he was 11 years
You're
old.
kidding me.
Weatherford's like his backup quarterback.
Weatherford, if you talk to Steve Weatherford, he would tell you when he was 11 years old, he's a little boy, and he's watching me speak in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And he comes forward, he gives his life to Christ as a little 11-year-old boy. I never knew. 25 years later, I'm speaking in San Diego. He's just retired in the NFL. He comes to an event, there's 3,000 men that are there. He comes forward, he hears my voice. He kept my poster and kept, because I've done feats of strength. I still do them. I'm 62, but I still do. But I've done feats of strength as a platform to like wow people, to like use these feats of strength to introduce people to the greatest strength. You know, breaking down, I hold the record for breaking 50 concrete blocks.
Wow.
So breaking 50 concrete blocks and then using that to say, hey, it doesn't matter what walls you've had in your life, those walls can be broken down, not just by your power, but by the power of God. So as a little boy, he gives his life to Christ. 25 years later, he's in a meeting, he hears my voice, he goes, that's the guy. And then what's crazy is not only did he get his life back right with God, he's having a lot of marital problems, a lot of things going on in his life, but his 11-year-old son was there, and he gave his heart to Christ.
Wow.
Wow, man.
25 years later, here's a whole family now. Now he's moved his whole family to Texas to be with us all. So when he gave you that Bible,
Dude, I took it serious.
Absolutely.
Where I backpedaled, where I said, like, where's this going to take me if I dive a little bit into it? And yeah.
okay, I'm gonna tell you how simple this is. I know we're doing a podcast, so you can cut this out if you want, but I want to do it.
Yeah, cool.
So just like you went under on those people, I want to go in on you.
Okay.
Here's how simple it is. The Bible says that without faith, it's impossible to please God. What is faith? Faith is not, okay, here's what I believe. So let's start business for a minute. Like if I say, hey, here's what I believe, but it's one thing to believe it, it's another thing to take action on it. So based on what I believe, if I take action on it, then here's what happens. That's what pleases God, because I took action based on what I believe. So the Bible says that with your heart you believe, not your mind, but with your heart you believe unto salvation. What does that mean? That means that you actually say, okay, God, you know what? I believe, but I'm also going to take action. And I believe that you sent your son Jesus to die on a cross for my sins. We're coming up on Christmas. What's Christmas about? Like he said, I was like a Santa Claus to some people. But it's the bottom line is we know Christmas isn't about that. But Jesus is the reason for the season, right? And that God so loved us that he gave his only son. That if we would believe, I have to believe, but not just believe, but take action and say, okay, God, I believe enough to invite Jesus into my heart. And at that point, that's when you give God control to say, all right, Lord, I'm open to be led by you now. I've done it my way. And guess what? You've had a lot of great success, but not without a lot of great pain, not without a lot of great hardship. But for the rest of your life, when I heard you talk about legacy, and you'll hear a little bit of my story later as we get to know each other. But my wife wrote a book called Live Your Legacy. Live the legacy that you want to leave. That's what you're doing. I've already, with my grandchildren, I've gifted them land that their parents will build houses on. There's a lot of similarities, except I'm not worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But who knows? Maybe with your help and Ryan's help I can.
That's right.
But the bottom line is, it's you at this point in your life. How old are you?
55.
55. At 55, it's at a point in your life where you're saying, hey, I've had success. I've got my marriage. I got my kids. I've got the next 100 years, the legacy laid out. But the one missing piece is that spiritual piece that God's saying. And I'll tell you this. I told Ryan, I texted Ryan when you were speaking. I said, I think it's Bobby's time to get his heart right with God. So we don't have to have this on the podcast. This is just in this room with you and me. Would you let me lead you in a prayer?
Sure, absolutely.
And just invite Jesus in and say, Jesus, I'm going to go with you all the way. Would you
Yeah,
let
I'll pray
me
with
do
you.
that? All right?
I'll pray with you.
So pray this with me. Just say, Dear Heavenly Father,
Dear Heavenly Father,
I ask you to forgive me
I ask you to forgive me
of all my sins.
of all my sins.
Cleanse me
Cleanse me
from all unrighteousness.
from all unrighteousness.
Anything that's been my way
Anything that's been my way,
that's not your way,
that's not your way,
I give that to you.
I give that to you.
I want to do my life,
I want to do my life,
my family,
my family,
my legacy,
my legacy,
your way.
your way.
Jesus,
Jesus,
I ask you to come into my heart
I ask you to come into my heart,
and be the Lord of my life
be the Lord of my life
from this day forward.
from this day forward.
Lead me,
Lead me,
guide me.
guide me.
In your name I pray.
In your name I pray.
Amen.
Amen.
That right there.
Let me tell you something.
Right there.
Let me tell you something right now. For last 10 years, maybe 15 years, many people tried to get me to that point. And this felt right, felt good, and again, I use that energy word. I felt good, not scared of it, and just open to it. So I appreciate that, dude.
There's no reason to be afraid, because here's the bottom line: you are God's son. And all I can tell you, and I'll say this, and you may not understand this, but prophetically, that means as you look to your future, is you haven't seen anything yet. Like you've seen some great things, but when you get that piece right, what you just did, God says, let's go.
I've never done that, guys. This is, so that was a breaking point for me. Thank you, dude.
It's beautiful. As I listen to you, so Ryan, do you mind if I share the text that I sent you?
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm gonna share the text I sent Ryan while you were speaking. So here's what I said to Ryan. By the way, the only way I know about you, I don't know anything about you except through Ryan. And Ryan, on our coaching call, as I'm coaching Ryan, he said, Bobby's this guy, man, I'm telling you, he's spoken so highly of you. I go, man, I can't wait to meet him. And then when Ryan invited me to come to this, and you were coming, it's like, I want to be here, you know, because I want to meet the guy that's influencing a guy that, yes, I've influenced, but guess what? It becomes mutual, right? It's like you get your alignments right, and the greatness is in other people. You become the beneficiary of, you know. So here's what I said to Ryan. I said, because I turned to my son and I said, I believe God's going to do a work. When you were talking, I said, God's going to do a work in Bobby's life. I said, I'm just sensing it right now, even as he's speaking. And I'm telling you, it wasn't 60 seconds. You said, you know, people have been coming to my life and like talking to me about God, or not, you didn't say it like that.
It was something like that, yeah.
Something like that. I looked at my son and went, so then I sent Ryan this text. I said, right before he said that, I turned to Josh and said, I'm going to lead Bobby to Christ.
Oh, thank you, dude. Thank you.
That's in the text.
Thank you.
So I'm telling you, this event, this weekend, way more than about an event. You and I both do events. We all do events. It's way more. It's about, like, you've been so, like, when you were speaking, here's what I saw. I saw God going, that's my son right there. He's teaching legacy like I want all these people to know. And I'm telling you, when you start talking about legacy, and you start talking about thinking that future forward, here's what the Bible says. Jeremiah 29:11. God says, I know the thoughts that I have for you. By the way, this is a life scripture for you.
Okay.
I know the thoughts that I have for you, good and not evil, to give you success and not failure, to give you a hope and a future. And that's the scripture that came to me when you were speaking. I thought, man, I could see God just looking at him and saying, that's my son. And it's like, it needs to be, the spiritual part of you needed to be activated, because that's been the only missing piece. And you just brought that horse into the barn, which is the most important.
It felt good. I was, many people have tried to get me there. Your invite was just that,
Yeah.
It felt good. I appreciate that. I really do. And that was very big for me.
Yeah, it's huge.
Because I'm commitment is real big for me. So I watch what I commit myself to.
100%.
I take that very serious.
Well, you know what's attracted Ryan to you, and you to Ryan, and me to y'all, and Ryan to me, and I'm not saying you're attracted to me, but the bottom line is what you're attracted to in people, first of all, is the spirit of who they are, not their personality, not that they have one more or less than you have, but you're attracted. Your wife, same thing. You're attracted more than her personality, more than chemistry. It's the spirit of who she is. So when you really realize that, like, we're spirit, soul, and body, and there is an eternity. There is a heaven and there is a hell, which what you just secured is your eternity in heaven forever. Talk about legacy. And so, anyway, so you're attracted to that, but also on a very practical level, he's one of the most loyal guys you'll ever meet. I know that. You know why? Because through his ups and downs, I don't even know, 19 years ago, were you were married to somebody else.
Yeah,
Dating the stripper. The stripper actually.
The stripper brought him to our church. That's who we haven't heard.
The stripper brought me to the church, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm very skeptical. You obviously know that. And so I go to this church, and she's like, go to this church. I'm like, whatever, right? I'm trying to get laid again, so I go to the church, right? And so I go to the church, and he's on stage singing like Creed or something like that, at the time, which I'd never seen church, but never seen even a motivational seminar like that. And strangely enough, I had read Zig Ziglar books, and he referenced that he worked with him and stuff. And I was like, well, what kind of preacher knows about sales? Because that's what I was interested in, right? And so the next weekend, of course,
he didn't know I was already a millionaire. And no, but when I started my church, I didn't start a church because I was a pastor or a preacher. I started a church because I thought, God wants me to have an incubator of greatness for people, like I said, so people can grow in their leadership, so people can learn core values. That's where you learn core values from me.
Yes.
You learn that whole thought process about core values. So again, so go ahead, but.
And so we start going back. Next thing you know, I'm like working in this church on Sundays, which was a long ways from my house because Frisco wasn't like it is now, right? Like where my house was fields and stuff, right? Long, boring, multiple red lights to get there. It was just no convenient way to come from Allen or McKinney or Allen or Wiley to Frisco.
At school.
And so, you know, every time I would leave the church, that the stripper would always say, you know, he was talking to you today. And what's funny is in my mind, I'm thinking, man, that was a word for me. I hope she got that the same way that I got it. And in her mind, it's like, it's going to sink in his head. I don't have to change. That was like our whole relationship. I wasn't smart enough then to realize that, but I look it back, I see that's what it was, you know. And then literally, like Amy's my fourth wife, obviously. I've always tried to find one to go back into church. But I tell you what, Amy's the first, and she's not a church person prior to this, right? But she's the first woman I have ever been married to or even had a date with that if I'm not in town, I don't go to church, she at least has it on the TV, right? She's like, and I think that's one thing that's the one thing that's definitely held a lot of our tough times previously, not anymore, but tough times previously together was that, you know, we was like, man, you know what? She's aligned with me on church, you know, because a lot of, hey, babe, I'm gonna make an investment. Yeah, go make us money. It's like, hey, now I'm gonna steal 2-3 hours every week of our time to go do something that we've never done that that you probably didn't like as a kid, but every week at their place is like a motivational seminar. They try to set it up like that versus some boring, you know, ritualistic type of thing, right? And
well, practical, helping people
exactly.
shed their philosophy of life, helping them get a concept of a biblical worldview, how to live the Bible, not just read the Bible, you know.
But I will say this, and then I think we gotta.
What were you gonna say, Amy?
Was it, Bobby, were you raised Catholic?
So, no, I was not.
You did nothing?
Never been in church other than
we
weddings?
went to church a few times. No.
Was it Catholic? Was it a
No Catholic.
No,
it was
nothing?
a Christian or Baptist. No, nothing.
Really?
Nothing. And this is big. People have tried because they have such beautiful hearts, man.
Yeah.
And recently at some events, this thing has been around. It's the weirdest thing. I'm here just reflecting.
God's
I'm
trying
a
to
little
talk to you,
dazed
homie.
because we're about to end the podcast.
And you just randomly walked on the.
I
Yeah,
didn't know how you
exactly.
got
Just
up
in
here.
run, he just floated.
How's
He's
that?
like,
Yeah.
he just floated down, just like here, and it was like,
That
and it was
angel
like,
weird.
you know,
That's
it was,
crazy.
it
No,
was,
that's crazy.
it was really. I'm sorry. I'm just like
No,
figuring it out.
So yeah, and,
What
and
just happened?
How it works right there.
when we were downstairs earlier in the breakout sessions, there's two ladies down there, Anna and Reagan, who are like light healers, right? Now, again, I'm a skeptic, so I don't really buy into that stuff. It's in the way that they say it's based on God and all this other stuff. Anyway, my wife is into that. Women, feminine energy and all this stuff. They're into different stuff than us alpha guys are, right? But she tells us, like, you need to go see this lady. You know, she's like, she goes to our church, blah, blah, you need to go see her. So I go see this lady, and again, I sit in there and I'm like, I'm only here because I want to get laid. I want to make my wife mad, right? I'm only here because I'm, you know, I'm listening to my wife, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to make sure I stay married. So, like, this lady goes through and does all this stuff, and I think I fell asleep halfway. Then we go through 2 or 3 more, and then, but some of the stuff she's saying that I'm halfway paying attention to starts working out, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm very skeptic, but obviously it's real, right? Well, so over the years, I'm the same way with religion, you know what I mean? Like, my first experience to religion before, or Christianity, whatever, before Keith, was the most hypocritical thing you could ever imagine in your life. It was people in prison that would only go to church so that maybe they could get parole. You know what I mean? I watched guys go to church. While I was in prison, I watched guys go to church every Sunday, live this Christian life in prison, make parole, get violated for crack, and be back in a month. You know what I mean? And so I thought, I mean, if I ever gave my life to God, I will never be a hypocrite like that. It will be pure, you know? So I say that a few years later, I go to a couple of services of Keith's church, and they grow and they buy land, and ultimately they own the biggest non-bank, non-commercial building in all of it. Other than a bank and a hotel, they own the biggest building in Frisco. Wow. And so, but that wasn't how it started. They built it as a business over the years. But I watched Keith pray over people and say stuff, and in him say stuff, and I'm like, that's ridiculous. In the beginning, you know, that's ridiculous. This guy thinks that that he says stuff and it's going to come true. But for 19 years, I don't think I've seen it haven't come true yet. And like his kids are that way too. It's like, you should try being this guy's son or daughter. You know what I mean? Like he says something and you watch it and you tell your friends, like, my dad says things that turn to truth, and it's, you know, I'm sure difficult, but what I'm saying is, even you have the right to be skeptic and like, man, it's a lot to take in. But I'm telling you, as a person who is equally as skeptic, I have seen this. He's not a normal human anyway. But I have seen the things that he speaks when he says that that's going to happen for you. It always does.
A month ago, Ryan, about a month ago, Steve sends me a text, a video text, and he was in the car.
Steve loves videos.
And he said, Bobby, something just told me to reach out to you. And I'm reaching out to you. He said some incredible, just awesome things. Sent him back that. It was just about that. It's weird. I want to keep this clip here. That is good. I want to share this with Steve too. And you know, this is it was good. It felt you know, not stressful.
Yeah, because it's, you know why? Because you're ready. Like, you're ready. That's what I sensed today. I thought, this guy, man, he is ready. I mean, you know, of course,
Irwin. You know Irwin's from California?
Yeah, he knows Irwin.
Okay, so
I'm on Irwin's board.
Okay, so we've been at events a few times. Another amazing individual, man. Spent some time with me, talked to me. He did ask me, "Are you ready? Are you ready?"
Yeah.
And I backpedaled.
Yeah.
I maneuvered out of it.
Yeah.
I tell you, dude, this thing, I would say, you know, last 18 months, just, yeah. And then another awesome guy, his friend, he wrote some book, The Bugs, or he lives in Florida too.
John Gordon.
Yes.
John Gordon, yeah.
Him and his wife, just nice people. We were at the Dave Matthews Band. It was Joe Marion's birthday. And no, he wasn't there. But anyways, I met him.
Probably through Joe or something.
Oh,
yeah.
Just.
Yeah. Well, God's been aligning.
Really, yeah, dude. It's just like,
to prepare your heart. And what he said about skeptics, let me just say this. The positive thing about being a positive skeptic, what I mean by that is that you're not closed off to it. You just want what's real. That's the difference between a negative skeptic is just skeptical because of what's inside them that's negative. A positive skeptic is somebody that says, you know what, I'm skeptical only because I want the real deal.
You know, and I want to touch on that. The skeptical for me, it's not about maybe how others maybe practice it differently like you outlined. It was not to change who I just feel like who I'm growing better and better, and I don't want to interfere with that. I want to continue that blossoming. So it was more of that,
right,
where I didn't want to,
enhancement versus an inhibitor.
I wanted to keep this thing that I have going within me, and maybe just a little bit of confusion thinking that it was going to change me versus to continue to improve me. Who knows?
Yeah, no, you don't know what you don't know. It doesn't matter who you are. You don't know what you don't know. And really, when you have a desire to grow and you have a desire to know more, the bottom line is, because God does love us, He does bring people across our path. He does bring alignments, but some people just don't see it. Like, they don't see really what, like, you can look back and go, wow, I can see this happened, this happened, this happened. People were talking to me. Why was that happening? Because it's your time. That's why. But I knew today in my heart, that's why it's so right. I said, here's what I feel like is supposed to happen. And,
I can't believe it. This big dude just softly just coming in. I mean, just like, you got to hold up a chair.
Hey, listen, you got to admit that's a God thing.
I mean, it was just
I literally
weird.
I look downstairs and I go, I think we're supposed to eat at 4:30. I go, and then I go, wonder where the store goes. And I walk.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, and then all of a sudden I heard voices, and then I turned the corner, I see Ryan. I thought, oh my goodness, I thought, oh my goodness, this is somebody's room. That's my first thought. I go, oh God.
Well, luckily, we were recording something totally PG, So.
Yeah, we're recording something totally PG.
That was good, eh?
No, well, okay, so Ryan said, Amy, no, I grew up in a German Catholic family. Very Catholic. Whole family. Like, my wedding present was like a giant, like, old-fashioned Bible. Like that. So I actually did grow up
Wow.
in a religious family. And I went to private Catholic school from 3 years old to senior year of high school. Went to church every week, so I actually was raised in a very religious Catholic family. But once my parents got divorced, we stopped going to church. And honestly, even before then, there was no conversation really about faith. You went to church, but you didn't feel
It was
anything in your
religion,
heart.
but it wasn't relational.
It was not
Yeah.
relational.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
relational.
Yeah.
And maybe like one sentence in the homily would actually be like, oh, that's interesting. I think I can maybe apply that. Like that sounds like, that's. But no, once I met Ryan and he took me there, and he said, oh yeah, that's Usher's stage set from his tour or whatever. I was like,
Yeah.
well, why is that in a church? Because when you're raised with the pomp and circumstance, it was so unfamiliar and I completely rejected it. But then once we went more, and once I listened to what he said, it was still so different. I said, well, this makes a lot of sense. This isn't church. Like this doesn't feel like God, like religion. Like this isn't. It wasn't processing. And then we kept going and going, and then it was just like lightning bolts, like to us. And everything he would say would just hit so deep, and it just, I actually like talk to God now. Before, that wasn't even a concept in my mind. Now, like praying, I actually understand what that means now. And think about, so for 18 years in my life, I was raised, took faith as a class for 18 years of my life, and never understood what prayer really was.
Yeah.
And then, you understand like what it is, but never actually felt it, never actually felt the difference, never actually like felt the answer. And so it's just surreal. And even still, like me and Ryan always say when we go, we're like, hey, you brought the tissues, right? Because every time he says it, and no matter how many times you go, how many different messages it is, the things you say are so prophetic, and they hit home every time in so many different layers of your life. Just when you think you can't get more self-developed, you keep on developing. And it's just, it's
awesome.
Surreal is all I can
I love that.
say.
That's a journey from religion to true
Yes.
relationship with God.
Absolutely.
And that's what you want. You don't want religion.
Yeah, that's what you were afraid of, is the
Let
religious
me
side.
ask you a question.
Yes,
Let me ask
sir.
you a question. So you guys, I know y'all are going to be here, but where are you flying on Saturday? Where are you going on Saturday?
So we have some folks that are here. We're going to see them on Saturday.
Okay.
Stay with them on Sunday. Pete Vargas and them, they're down there. He's here for his anniversary.
Okay.
He seen that
He
I
knows
was
Pete.
here. Oh, you do? Pete
He
Vargas.
led Pete to God too, years and years and years ago.
Wow. And so we leave Sunday. We fly out Sunday, wheels up by 5 o'clock.
And where do you guys live?
Fort Lauderdale.
You do.
South
Okay,
Florida.
sure. Date.
Okay.
He's staying here till Sunday. So if you look right downstairs, that's the Waldorf Astoria.
That's where he said he was at, right?
Okay, is that where he's staying?
Yeah.
And so he's down below us, okay? If you look around the side over there, I'll show it to you in a minute, there's an outside restaurant. It's called El Ferrion. You have to make reservations 8 months in advance.
I did that, but we leave.
I thought we were staying till Sunday, so you can have my reservation tomorrow. That is the best restaurant in the world, period,
Wow.
hands down. You and Sophie will have the most romantic.
Awesome.
You don't order from a menu.
It's
It's a
unreal.
totally different
It's the only
experience.
James Bond restaurant.
Thank
It's
you.
the most incredible.
So you can have our reservation because we're leaving back. So
Thank you.
just
dude.
go down there and she'll tell you, Sophie,
Yeah.
and set it up, but
All right.
just tell them you're me. and you're
So
good.
the reason I was asking is because I know a couple of these guys, because they're even though they don't live in Dallas, they're coming back. They're going to go to church on Sunday, but I'm speaking on Sunday. But here's what I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
So allow me the opportunity. You think about it. I don't want you to feel the pressure.
Okay.
But allow me the opportunity to bring you along in this. You know what I'm saying? Just let's talk some.
No, yeah, I would love some guidance in it.
So
Of course,
it's
and I
not like
appreciate
I
that.
made the decision, but
No, without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
and
you want to fertilize it more.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
and only for the reason because I care.
Thank you.
There's no other agenda with that whatsoever.
Thank you. Yeah, I would love to share contacts. I would love to
Yeah.
take you up on that because
Yeah.
obviously that's needed to no.
Yeah, and then I have a home in Destin
Oh, okay.
on the
Florida.
bay. Yeah, and so So maybe we can connect sometime when we're in
Of course, when
Florida.
you're there,
So, yeah.
I can just
Yeah.
fly up, and
Yeah.
I mean, how do you not go to Destin? That's
Yeah.
where you go too,
Mhm.
sometimes, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, but I'd love to continue it for the purpose of you just being open to growing and
Yeah.
developing. You know what I mean? And then whenever you and your wife can, come see us at the church. Like,
Absolutely.
Take a
She's
week.
speaking at MDM.
No, I'm just saying.
And how
Like,
come you weren't there, right?
He already had something else last
yeah,
year.
I had. Yeah.
He'll be there at 23 though.
Okay.
Yeah, but I spoke of the 1 year before.
The 1
right?
year before, yeah.
In fact, I opened it and Steve closed it the year
Yep.
before. It was kind of crazy, but yeah. So, but anyway, I'm going to seed a thought into you. Think about you and your wife just coming once a month.
Yeah.
Fly to Dallas.
Yeah.
Be with us on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Just think about it once a month.
We love Dallas. We
And
meet
make
some
that
people
make
there,
make
all
our
that.
church your church, because you don't have a church. So it's like that's where we go.
And your church is in Frisco, Dallas.
Frisco.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right up the street from us.
Well, thank you, man.
There's a bunch of us that go there.
Yeah. No, there is a bunch. There is a
I mean,
bunch
you
of
know a
us.
lot of people there. Jason Poston goes, Weatherford goes, David Harris goes. You know, we're there. Like,
Yeah, I met him, David Harris.
yep. Yeah, we all sit on the
Nice
same
job,
row
you know,
together. You know, and Cafe Anderson. I don't know if you know him or not. Like,
If I see him,
man, you
terrible
love him.
names.
He's one of the coolest people I know, man.
So
He's cool.
you know Pete Vargas, yeah? And
I'm
his
trying to
wife?
think. How do I know Pete?
Man,
Remind me.
Well, he told me the story about you led him similar
I know
to
he was God
Weatherford,
in him,
you
that's
know.
for sure.
But Pete was a pastor in Colorado for a while.
Okay.
And for years, and then he's just recently, but he's Grant Cardone's stage manager guy. He
Yeah,
does
it's
the
not like
speaking
we're.
stuff.
I'm not like his friend.
No, you literally just like Weatherford. You led him to the Lord.
Yeah.
He said that.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I told him you were here. I haven't checked my phone to see if I heard
Yeah.
back from him, but.
Yeah.
Sophie was telling me earlier that he was here, so I texted him to see
Yeah,
where
he's
they're at.
there. They
Yeah,
have
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I met Pete. So when I sold my company, our company 3 years ago, my kids because say, hey, Dad, you should share a little bit online and do some of that. I've always asked to maybe speak at some events, but I was so focused on my business. And all
Right.
that. So I did so. I wasn't a fan. Social media here and there. I had my mixed views, and then started meeting all these people.
Yeah.
I mean, just started
Yeah.
meeting some good quality, I think, people that really stuck out to me.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy good relationships. And I met Pete at an event. He was doing some work with Grant. I know Grant, and that. We went to dinner, and look at this. We go to dinner. This maybe 8-10 months ago. Pete is doing the 10X thing, and we're meeting him and his wife somewhere elsewhere for dinner. We're with his wife, and his wife had an incident, passed out and all that. We're waiting for him, and he came, and I'll never forget, man. This dude was running down the street for his wife, and he's very expressive. He really has. He talks good about God. Definitely God is with him at all times. He came running. I never seen the amount of love for an individual. Came running for his wife, who wasn't doing good at that time, and I was a fan. 'Cause I just saw the whole body language and everything, And so, anyways, I met him through. How I met this dude somewhere in the whole ecosystem,
Crazy.
and then we just stayed in touch.
Yeah.
And every time he's in town, and just got along good with him.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
all.
That's awesome.
Pete's a big speaker guy, but I forgot who I was with, and he's like, I see you with Pastor Keith, man. He's like, that guy baptized me or led me to the Lord at one of your
Events, yeah.
what was the feats of strength
Strike
original
Force, yeah.
Strike Force, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
And doesn't he live in Texas? Oh no,
he lives in Colorado, I believe. I
I believe it's Texas.
Oh, he may have moved. A lot of people moved to Texas recently.
Not
Yeah,
sure, but
that's
I'll be seeing him when we part here when everyone leaves, and he's there with
Jen Gottlieb, who we met through the same
yeah,
network.
a few people there, and then we leave on Sunday. But yeah.
Yeah. Man, it's such an honor to meet you.
Thank
and
you,
to
man. Thank you
have
for
the
what you did.
privilege to just read you.
And I would enjoy a little more guidance and all that, and fertilize it more. And this was a big, well, this is
Yeah.
big, and
Isn't it weird though? I just come walking. I mean,
it
come
was
on.
the weirdest thing, man.
That's when you know it's God. I'm just
I
telling
mean,
you.
just floated here.
I mean,
You're a
You
big
had to
dude.
slide
You were
past
just
those
floating.
plants and everything
I
to get
thought-
over here,
I
man.
thought, where does this go? That's what I was thinking.
That's what a big thank you, man.
You're up next, too,
Thank you,
sir.
Bobby.
Thanks, dude.
Yes, sir. Love you, big bro.